is there a technique in, like, if you're going straight down the center, you could put something on top, on the below, from, or in front and in the back?
Yes.
Something like that. I wonder if you could just go through it a little bit.
Yes. Janelle, can I use the whiteboard here? Okay. Because I want to show you something. This is a little bit, I don't want to delete this stuff. I feel bad. Can somebody else do it? He's going to fire me. All right. Funny enough, I was the guy that invented Blaze Track just the other day. Isn't that funny? Huh? The guy that invented Blaze Track, I was with him the other day. We just had pie together. So, can you still hear me if I'm here? Oh, if I can do this. Aha! So, I have a bit of a philosophy, right? When mixing, and of course, this is our left channel and this is our right channel, right? And if these are the highs, these are our lows, you get the picture, right? Left, right, highs and lows. So the way I like to place my my instruments, so okay, to get back a little bit, for me, panning and positioning stuff in the stereo field is just as important as the fader. It is in fact a fader, because when you're putting stuff to the right, you do the pan pot to the right, really what you're doing is turning that left. That's really, it is really a fader. It's just that it's visually a pot like that. So to me, that is a tool as important as it is faders. So what I like to do is I like to visualize my positioning, and transferring the concepts of audio into visual information actually helps a lot. I have some of my clients that have the thing that Michael Jackson had where he would hear colors. You know what I mean? So that's really important to do a parallel. Yeah, that. Yeah. So what I like to do is I like to envision. Can you guys still see if I write something here? Yeah? Okay. So I'll do it big. So ultimately, we're working to make a woofer work really well, right? So that's what I'm picturing here. This is a woofer seen by the side, right? Magnet under here, and then the comb, right? So that's what the concept that I'm following. I'm basically trying to place my low-end information here in the center. We want to have the bass, especially the deeper we go. So say this is, there's no set boundary here, but say, I don't know, anywhere between somewhere around 200 hertz or 200 hertz down. We want to be as mono as possible. This kind of like was a very routinely, a routine technique when we used to do vinyl, right? We don't want to have stereo bass, and we don't want to have a lot of bass either, because we wouldn't want the needle to skip to the next track, right? But that still holds true. In fact, whenever you have a subwoofer in your car, you typically have one woofer. You don't have two. You may have two, but they're still mono, So it's a mono information that's there, which is another reason why when the kids in New York, listening to just one side, they're losing all the bass because of that. Bass is being reproduced by both speakers. So if you cut one, you only have half of the bass, right? And half of everything else, but especially for the bass. So we want to make sure that basically from 200-ish down, everything is mono. And I think about it as the magnet. So this is our magnet of the woofer, which is what supports the entire speaker. I try to look at it like, this is supporting the whole thing, and that's our bass. So what this is, 200 hertz down, what usually means is bass, 808s, kick drums, anything that's low in frequency, That needs to be mono. So that needs to be in the center, as you can see. From here on out, we can go up, and then we can place whatever. So if, for example, say we have the 808 bass here dead in the middle, here we're going to have the kick drum a little bit above. Don't really mind the 200 hertz. That could be anywhere here. But ideally, we will have that tone, the rumble, the boom, boom, lower, like in the subs. Then right above that, you will have your kick. Also, the difference between the two is that, again, like we talked before, the 808 is a long, sustained note. The kick drum is a fast in and out thing, It's quick information, comes and goes, boom, that's it. Right above that, typically, the other thing that responds to the kick is our snare, right? And typically is in the higher frequency range as well. So let's say we have our snare right above it. So now we have a visual, right? Low, kick, snare, right there in the middle. Now we get we can place anything else above it. But let's stick with the drums scenario that we're talking about here. Usually, again, what talks to these is now the hi-hat, right? Typically, that's what we're talking about. So now we have the center that's being occupied by the main parts of our newly built building, right? The structure. The other thing that, of course, will reign supreme here is going to be the lead vocals. Whatever that is, that's going to live right here. I'm going to make it an ellipse. Is that what it's called in English? This kind of thing for the vocals. Now, typically, the vocal, of course, is a mono track, but there's effects, delays, ad-libs, harmonies that usually that are spread out, of course, way bigger. But let's just make this area right here as it's, because it's still going to be mainly in the middle, but there's going to be some stuff around. Now, what we're left with is the music. Everything else that's music can absolutely take all of these places here, right? So there you go. Guitar on the right, reverb on the left. Remember we were talking about it in the Pitbull video? That's exactly what I did. I put the guitar here and the reverb all the way here. Now this is a place where you can put synths, stereo, piano, stereo. You can do little percussion elements that come in and go or whatever, or stuff like that. And all of this here. So one of my main goals is to identify these places and allocate space for all of these things. Now, of course, you can't always do it like that. It's not a perfect science. But the idea is, let's try to do this kind of thing and have everything away from everything else. You know what I mean? This, of course, works with the left and the right. I mean, the left and the right and the frequency. But then, of course, we got time. That's the other thing. So if I know that the producer is giving me something that has, say, a distorted guitar and a synth that occupies more or less the same space, well, then I still have the time that I can control. So maybe I can mute this specific sound here, but I have it being live on the bridge or the chorus or something like that. And this goes the same thing with effects. I can have, remember earlier I was saying, I may have the lead vocal right there in the middle, and the reverb would be stereo so that it occupies this space, but maybe I can tuck in a little bit of the mono information of that return. So, I try to place things so that it's visually more appealing. And if I wish we had better speakers here, I would play you guys some before and after samples that you can really hear how big of a difference it makes. But maybe that's going to be the next video that I'm going to do. We'll see. So, yeah. Does this answer?
Yeah, that's what I will think. That diagram you draw there, right? The voice is not directly centered. It's slightly...
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's mainly here, of course, but there's like background vocals, ad-libs, effects, and those will be stereo. So it will happen that I may place the vocal right there in the middle here, and that's it. And then the ad-libs all the way here and all the way there. So that means that now the music I gotta put here or something like that. There's many different variations. Maybe I can do something like this and only vocals out here, something like this, only vocals there, Or maybe even the same, I don't know, if I have, for example, a 3 parts harmony, and each one of them has 4 vocals that are doing the same thing, now I can do 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and 4. You see what I mean? Like 0, 25, 25, 15, 100, 15, 100, something like that. You can pen it out. You can be very creative with things, which is another reason why I always try to record what I'm going to mix, because I can give myself all these options for later, when instead, if I'm mixing something that I have not recorded, then, I'm kind of like, again, I'm cooking what I'm given, which is great too, but, So this is my philosophy. It looks great, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. As long as it makes sense for you,